consultations making waves across social and civic spaces.
This is Daybreak Live on Dominion Television.
Right.
Stay with us.
Please stay with us as well. Good morning, Samson, and happy New Week.
Well, a wonderful morning to you. And it's been a very, very long weekend, actually, from one place to the other. But definitely, the Big Conversation Conference was one to, before then, was one to watch out for. But of course, indeed, was worth the while, actually.
It was a successful event, honestly.
Successful event. All right. Well, we say congratulations to Dominion Broadcast Group. Congratulations to the general manager.
And the organizers, the team.
And of course, every member of the team that made that a possibility. Kudos. And of course, to the sponsors. It was really an amazing event.
Excellent event.
Yes.
Well
Away from there, let's talk about international politics. And that story that broke as regards members of the parliament asking Kestraba to confront the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on the Christian genocide in the country, and so many other things. It now brings us back to where we should be in the first place. And the relationship between the United Kingdom and Nigeria, how strong has it been over the years? And of course, Nigeria has always been a part of that union. We talk about India, we talk about Nigeria, we talk about the United Kingdom. It has always been a relationship that goes far beyond bilateral agreements and papers being signed across borders. It's about independence too. You cannot trace the history of Nigeria without talking about the UK. And definitely, we are back on that table having that discussion. Where has the UK been when Nigeria has always had the need for a big brother? When we talk about countries across the world that have seen it all, they have gone through every phase of development, including the industrial development too, which I think Nigeria is not there yet. So where have they been till now? Then we are talking about Christian genocide in the country. So there's a lot to talk about on this, actually.
Yeah, I think you're very spot on. Just like you mentioned, the president, alongside his wife, his first lady, will be meeting with the king and, of course, the queen, I think on Wednesday at Windsor Castle. And later, the president is said to travel to Downing Street to meet with Keistama. And then the lawmakers, I think about 209 of them, are saying you need to grill him, you need to ask him questions about Christian genocide in the country. And I also read that the First Lady is said to also meet with another important person in UK, and then she's supposed to attend a service, and then she's supposed to even preach at that service, and then she'll be asked questions around human rights and things like that. I actually love it for the president and his First Lady, because why? They have like a brief of what they are to expect. Unlike this old Daniel Wallace case, after the interview, Daniel
came was ambushed.
So he said he walked into a trap. That he said he thought they were going to ask him questions around the economy, the administration of the president, and then he got there, they were talking about his past, and then, it was a bit messy, right? But I'm happy for the president and his wife that they have an idea. If at all there'll be any surprises, at least they'll be able to, manage it, because they have an idea of what, they are going to, be asked, over there. And then away from that, they also mentioned quite a number of things. Speaking about the lawmakers now, they made reference to Leah Sharibu that was abducted in 2018 alongside about 119 others, and they asked the question to say, why is it that they've not heard so much about her? Because at that time, Leah said she was not going to renounce her faith and that we didn't hear so much about her. And even so many more. Talk about the Chibok girls. A lot of people have been abducted in this country. I think it's recently when they abduct 120, at the end of the day, they release them in batches, and then we can account for the entire 120. But there was a time in this country when they kidnapped some people, you will never, honestly, maybe some went missing, some died, and it's really sad. And then I also think that we are at the point whereby even the outside world, the Western countries, they know so much about Nigeria compared to some other Nigerians in this country, and it's really sad. So I want to believe that maybe at the end of the day, because this is like the first time that a Nigerian president will be visiting the UK in 37 years. So maybe this can give us another help, just like how the United States is trying to help us. I mean, they've sent quite a number of things to Nigeria. Maybe I think it might just help us, because we are at a point whereby Nigerians don't care where the help is going to come from. They just want the killings and the abductions to end. So I want to believe that the president and his wife are both prepared for this interview, and of course they can be able to present the challenges to them. If there's a way they can also help, I think it's a good one. We need all the help that we can actually get at this point in time.
Well, one thing I have been able to understand with all of this is gradually they're beginning to pin that particular name, Christian genocide, on Nigeria as a country that is going on in here. And I would really love that countries and, of course, leaders across the world who would want to be wade into all of this should be careful with how this is pronounced, so that we don't pronounce what is not actually there, and that we don't overemphasize what is not truly there. And I am also not too comfortable with the word grill when it comes to presidents to a prime minister of a country, regardless of what role you played in Nigeria's independence. Nigeria is a sovereign state, and if their own house or chamber they are asking for the prime minister to now grill the Nigerian president, I think for me it looks like a little bit of an insult. But having a quiet conversation, a little bit of conversation about it would not be a bad idea. But saying you want to grill the Nigerian president, for me, is way out of the window. Away from there, I think there should be careful verification of claims across the world. Because when people make claims and there is no thorough verification of what is actually going on in that country, you might just set that country on fire without you even knowing what you are fighting for. We have seen it happen before, and we don't want that to happen again, especially in a country like Nigeria, as diverse as Nigeria. Of course, we would expect diplomatic engagement, which is what is currently going on. I want to believe that's exactly why the president is going to the United Kingdom at this time, to have some discussions about what they could do and what role the UK can play in all of this, to make sure, as you rightly mentioned, Nigeria does not care where the help is coming from right now. They just want to make sure, as a country, I think this president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has really been working with so many. In fact, when he had to sign a bilateral agreement on security with Turkey, that was when I knew he needs everybody to be on board as regards solving the issue.
Even France was
even France, yes, and that for me only it's a body language that shows the sign that this administration wants it to, come to an end as soon as possible. However, you mentioned something about the case of kidnappings, banditry in the past, and compared to what we now have. And, you would want to toe the part of people saying, this we are saying now might just be politically motivated. And I will cite an instance. In the past, you see them, in fact, they will kill some of these girls because they have decided not to renounce their faith. Some of them will be married off to bandits and some other things. Some even escaped. And you cannot even account for half of them in some cases when they are kidnapped. But that was then, okay? That, for me, looked genuinely like an attack on a country. But right now, it's more or less like an attack to get some money from the government, because immediately there's a negotiation and, all of a sudden, some of them will say they escaped. And then you see the number of people that escaped. If you kidnapped 120 people and then maybe 5 of them said they escaped, it will be understandable. Maybe one way or the other they found their way out of the den. But about 20, 25, getting out of sight without being noticed. That for me seems like release in batches. Okay, and at a point you see them going and meeting them somewhere, and then they are coming back in the bus. It looks for me like it's unexplainable. It's inexplicable, if I may put it that way. But then the most important thing is this administration is doing everything humanly possible to make sure that if anybody has been kidnapped, every life is not just a number. Every life matters, and they are trying to make sure that everyone gets back to their families, unscathed. And there should be support for human rights monitoring, because that has been the case across the country. We have seen people. I think that was the major cause of the NSAS protest. People who are talking about police brutality and so many other things like that. If the government can make sure that everyone's right is protected, I think we will not suddenly have someone making noise or saying things about genocide where it doesn't exist. They will not talk about kidnappings where it doesn't exist. We only talk about things that actually matter and is happening in the country. However, this meeting with the UK Prime Minister should really serve as a rallying point for Nigeria as a country. It should serve as a point where we say we have gotten to the full stretch of what we can take when it comes to insecurity. Let's nip it in the bud and, of course, get it sorted as soon as possible.
Right, I think you're very spot on. I'd love to start with your first point. Speaking about Nigeria, ranking, in terms of countries that are, going through a lot. And then let me read this particular line. It says, this comes, Nigeria's ranking as one of the most dangerous countries in the world for Christians, following prolific coordinated attacks by Islamic terrorist groups such as Boko Haram and, of course, ISWAP. So they are saying that, they even made reference to the 163 Christian worshippers that were kidnapped, earlier this year in Kaduna State, to say that, okay, this is a vivid example. And just like you mentioned, I think we've established on several occasions on this table that, Christians are killed, even traditional worshippers. I recall in 2024, it was as if they targeted the monarchs. About 3 or 4 of them were slaughtered. It's really sad. They were traveling and they were killed.
I think it was only one that escaped.
Exactly, and then it was actually able to tell the story to the world to say that this was what happened. They ambushed us and things like that. So even Muslims are being killed and Christians also are being killed. Okay, so maybe when you begin to count, but then how do you even arrive at the figure now? Because I remember during the COVID era, a lot of journalists actually complained about some of the numbers that were published at that time to say these figures are not correct. I remember a friend of mine even wrote his project around that. So these are the issues that we have in our hands. At the end of the day, I think the president and the wife, I think they have that chance to actually set something straight and, of course, speak their truth, and then I think at the end of the day, they'll publish it, people will get to read it and, of course, understand where we are currently in terms of tackling insecurity. And one more thing is, I mentioned that this is the first time that the Nigerian president will be visiting the UK in 37 years. Okay, maybe this might also be an opportunity to actually strengthen that relationship that we have with UK. It's been weak over the years. I recall during the era of Buhari, a lot of Nigerians wanted Buhari to visit the UK, but the chance didn't come until he left the office. So now that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and I want to respect some Nigerians who love to, let me say they are futuristic. A lot of them said Buhari might not have visited the UK during his tenure, but they are so sure that Jagaban we find a way, or maybe one thing will happen and you're able to visit. And I want to applaud them because it's happening right now. So I want to believe that the president and the wife are both prepared for that interview. Just like you said, you're not so comfortable with the word grill, with the word question and things like that. I want to believe they're prepared, and I want to believe that there'll be some sort of respect. He's a sovereign leader of a particular country. At the end of the day, you just have to speak the truth and, of course, answer the questions very plainly. So moving away from that, back to the issue of this whole kidnapping, just like you mentioned, things are changing, and then sometimes you cannot even wrap your head around it. We are seeing cases whereby an attack will happen. There was a particular case that I read about, I think a few months back now, whether January or February. They actually told the villagers that they would come.
They were coming.
I think they were trying to introduce their religion to them, and then those ones were saying, no, we are not going to take that. And they said to them that we are coming, and they came, and they slaughtered them in their... I don't know, I think the number is very close to 100 now. Right. They slaughtered them, and then at the end of the day, I don't even think the security operatives were able to get there before 24 hours. So it's really sad. These are the things that we need to look at. If at all we get the help, I believe that I still stand on my point. Nigeria has what it takes to solve insecurity without even getting help from these external, countries. But then maybe we can make, do of that. We can make use of that help. So really, I think it's something we should look at for. Maybe after this whole meeting with Kestama at Downing Street, maybe we can see more improvement in terms of security.
Well, also, just before we go, I also want to note this, that, there are several bodies, pressure groups who actually put information out there to make sure that they put the government on their toes, and to make sure that things are done the right way. Bodies like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, I think, well, they are doing a very good job. At least they have done, to an extent, been able to put it out there that a lot is going on in the country. However, I think some claims should be verified before it is being put out there, because that might just set the country on fire when it's not even necessary. I understand some of these bodies are being funded by, they get aids, grants from countries like the United Kingdom, the US. But aside from the money, okay, beyond the funds being received, I think a proper and due diligence should be done to make sure that the information we are putting out there it says a lot about who we are as a country, as a people. And we can't afford to be seen as a country that actually breathes down the neck of a particular religion, especially when it comes to Christianity, and we know what that has caused in recent times. But then, just like we have always said, killings, especially in Nigeria, does not know any religion. We have seen suicide bombers go into mosques, blowing everyone off. We have seen, especially in Muslim-dominated states, we have seen IEDs being planted in so many places, sky explosions, and a lot of things being done. And you can't really tell who was involved because some of the bodies are badly damaged. You can't even tell if they are Christians, Muslims, in some cases of IEDs. But we can tell for a fact that at least when prayers are being had in the mosque, you can't have Christians in there. They are definitely Muslims, and that has happened over and over again. Nobody talked about Muslim genocide at that time. And we have seen cases where, in isolated cases in some places in Nigeria, especially in Ilorin, Kwara State, where traditionalists were being one way or the other witch hunted, according to reports. And we have not said there was kind of an attack of any sort on them at the time. So we want to be careful about the narrative we put out there, especially local media, because eventually people will source for information from your channels, from your platforms. And if you are the ones reporting what is not even there, or probably you are sugarcoating or overemphasizing some issues, you might just set the country on fire. And we don't want to be there at this time because Nigeria is really going through a phase when it comes to insecurity. And we have not even gotten there when it comes to development. So if we now put the pressure of insecurity, if we sugarcoat and overemphasize insecurity to that extent, then it becomes a problem. And since the president is going to be in the UK, this is an opportunity to strike a lot of important deals, just like it was done in Turkey and, of course, in so many other countries too. Nigeria needs all the help we can get at this time to solve the case of insecurity. If security is solved, I mean, if we no longer have insecurity in the country, naturally the economy will boom.
Agriculture, we get all the help.
Will grow. Some people have deserted their farmlands. They can't even go back there because of what they are facing. We remember when Baga in Maiduguri, which is the largest place where fishes are being transported down to the south and so many other places, was abandoned because a lot of things was going on there in terms of insecurity. But then, I think that peace, normalcy has been restored in that place. We can do that in so many ungoverned places in the country and make sure that Nigerians go back to their daily businesses.
And let's not lose the focus. Insecurity is the demon we are trying to suppress.
And if you see something, say something. If you see people going through your communities and you don't even know them, why not call on security agencies to tell them exactly what is going on?
About that, and even the security operatives must help us. There was a case in Jobelio. In this country, they arrested someone allegedly who is a bandit, and then the villagers went back there the next morning and discovered that
he's been released.
He's been released.
Yeah,
so
it happens. This is now where local policing should be encouraged. Okay,
right.
They can now work hand in hand with the federal police, but most importantly, these communities know exactly. At least their sons and daughters know exactly what the problem is, and they know how to tackle it.
Right.
I'm not saying they should take law into their own hands, but at least they know. Even bandits, and they know that there are people on ground that know the terrain more than they do, and that will solve a lot of problems. Probably about 40% of the crisis we have now will be solved if we have local people securing their own properties and lives by themselves. All right, away from that, let's help you plan your day this morning, and that is where we take weather report on this show this morning. And we'll be starting with the ancient metropolitan city of hospitality, Ibadan. What does the weather say in Ibadan as we speak? There's an average of 26 degrees Celsius, but overall today, but as we speak, it is around 30 degrees Celsius. And it will remain so later in the morning, while it will be mostly cloudy with humidity at 2%. By afternoon, it rises by 5 degrees Celsius to 35 degrees Celsius. It will remain mostly cloudy. Humidity maintaining will be at around 21%. While in the evening, it drops to 28 degrees Celsius. That is a drastic drop from 35 degrees Celsius. It will be partly cloudy, a 0 chance of humidity, and overnight, it will drop further to 26 degrees Celsius. Cloudy right there, and humidity rises to 13% right there in Ibadan today.
And of course, from Ibadan, we cross to Osun Osogbo Sacred Grove, where the feels like 26 degrees Celsius this morning, and later in the morning is expected to be around 30 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 1%. And in the afternoon, we have 36 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%. In the evening, we have 28 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 1%. And overnight, it drops further to 25 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 20%. And that's what we have for Ocean this morning.
Right, let's go straight to the center of excellence, and that is Lagos this morning. Weather in Lagos currently feels like 34 degrees Celsius as we speak, but there will be a drop later in the morning to 31 degrees Celsius. It will be cloudy, and humidity will be around 12%. However, in the afternoon, it will remain same, and while it will be mostly cloudy, with humidity rising just by 2% to 14%. In the evening, it drops to 29 degrees Celsius. It will be partly cloudy, zero chance of humidity. And there will be a slight change overnight, dropping to 28 degrees Celsius while being cloudy, with humidity at 6% right there at the center of excellence, Lagos today.
From Lagos, we cross to Ekiti, still in southwest, and weather feels like 24 degrees Celsius this morning. Later in the morning is expected to be around 29 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 2%, and in the afternoon we have a rise to 34 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 1%. In the evening, it drops to 26 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, back at 2%. And overnight, we have 24 degrees Celsius, cloudy around 13%, and that's what we have for Ekiti this morning.
All right, moving on, let's go to the Gateway State this morning. As we speak in Ogun, weather currently feels like 31 degrees Celsius, and remains so, just like we had in Lagos. It will be around 31 degrees Celsius later in the morning. It will be mostly cloudy with humidity around 7%. By afternoon, it will be mostly cloudy, rising to 35 degrees Celsius, and humidity will be around 13%. In the evening, it drops to 29 degrees Celsius. It will be partly cloudy, and humidity will be around 1%, while overnight it drops slightly to 27 degrees Celsius while being cloudy with humidity at 13% right there in Ogun, the Gateway State today.
And from Ogun, let's cross to the north, and weather this morning feels, I'm speaking about Kano now, weather feels like 23 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 32 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, around 0%, and then in the afternoon we have 39 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, still at 0%. In the evening, it drops to 30 degrees Celsius, clear, around 0%, and overnight it drops further to 23 degrees Celsius, mostly clear, around 0%, and that's what we have for Kano Municipal this morning.
All right, still in the south, but in the south this morning, we take this one from Port Harcourt, River State as we speak. But weather in Port Harcourt currently feels like 23 degrees Celsius. It rises by 5 degrees Celsius to 20 degrees Celsius later in the morning, with promise of thunderstorms, and humidity will be as high as 79%. And there is a promise of scattered thunderstorms in the afternoon, maintaining same 28 degrees Celsius, with humidity dropping to 54%. In the evening, it drops further to 23 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy. Humidity also drops to 19%. And overnight, there's a slight decrease to 22 degrees Celsius, while being cloudy, with humidity dropping to 16% right there in Port Harcourt, River State today.
And from Port Harcourt, we cross to Maiduguri, Borno, and weather feels like 23 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 34 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy around 0%, and in the afternoon we have 40 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy around 0%, and in the evening it drops drastically to 29 degrees Celsius, mostly clear around 0%, and overnight it drops further to 24 degrees Celsius, clear around 0%, and that's the way we have for Maiduguri, Borno this morning.
All right, moving on. Let's take this one from the North Central this morning, and that is talking about the FCT, and that is Abuja. Suleja in Niger State first, and we'll take this one. As we speak in Suleja, weather currently feels like 25 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning rises by 6 degrees Celsius to 31 degrees Celsius. It will be mostly cloudy, zero chance of humidity right there. And in the afternoon, it rises by 6 degrees Celsius to 37 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy. Also, zero chance of humidity. It drops to 29 degrees Celsius in the evening. It will be clear, And of course, overnight it drops by 3 degrees Celsius to 26 degrees Celsius, while being partly cloudy, with humidity at 2% right there in the largest state in Nigeria. That is Suleja, Niger State today.
And finally, for this morning, we have Abuja City, and weather feels like 25 degrees Celsius, and later in the morning is expected to be around 30 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, around 1%. In the afternoon, we have 36 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, around 0%. And in the evening, it drops to 30 degrees Celsius, clear, around 0% as well. And overnight, it drops further to 25 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, around 2%. And that's what we have for Abuja FCT this morning.
All right, I think that will be all we can take on weather reports this morning. So thank you for being a part of the show so far. Do also link up with us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X, formerly Twitter, at Dominion Cast. You can watch us live on our website at www.dominion.org.ng, dominion.org.ng. You can also do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Dominion Broadcast, and of course like our Facebook page at Dominion Broadcast Television. Drop your comments on this show. We'll take them before we go. It is time to go on a short break, and when we return, we'll take the news. We'll be back.
and welcome. This is Daybreak News on Dominion Television in Ibadan. The federal government has alleged that an embattled mining company, Jupiter Limited, is planning what it described as a campaign of calumny against Nigeria during the planned state visit of President Bola Tinubu to the United Kingdom. The Ministry of Solid Minerals Development said the alleged move was aimed at discrediting ongoing reforms in the mining sector and misleading the international community about the circumstances surrounding the revocation of certain mineral licenses. In a statement issued by the Special Assistant on Media to the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Segun Tomori, the ministry dismissed claims that Nigeria seized the British lithium project under armed guard, describing the allegation as false and misleading. Tomori said the federal government had no legal or contractual relationship with any company known as Jupiter Lithium, stressing that Nigerian mining laws prohibit foreign companies from directly holding mineral titles. The National Labour Congress has demanded urgent intervention from the federal government to cushion the effect of the recent spike in petrol prices, calling for a cost of living allowance, a wage award for workers, tax relief, and immediate steps to revive the country's public refineries. The Labour body said the sharp rise in fuel prices now selling between 1,170 naira and 1,300 naira per litre has worsened the economic hardship facing Nigerian workers and citizens, warning that the nation risks severe social unrest if urgent measures are not taken. The NLC also accused the government of leaving Nigerians at the mercy of volatile global oil prices triggered by the escalating Middle East crisis, noting that the situation has exposed the fragility of Nigeria's downstream petroleum sector and deepened the suffering of workers and their families. The Oyo State government, through the Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources, has intensified its campaign to end open defecation in the state. In a statement issued by the Commissioner for Information, Prince Dr. Oyelade, and made available to journalists in Ibadan, said the campaign was flagged off with the construction of a public toilet facility at Ojo Market in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Flagging off the project, the Commissioner for Environment and Natural Resources, Engineer Demola Derito, said the initiative formed part of the state government's ongoing effort to improve sanitation, promote public health, and end open defecation in line with the agenda of UNICEF and the Oyo State government. Derito explained that Oyo State is projected to end open defecation by 2031, adding that all residents and visitors in the state must comply with and support the government effort to achieve the target within the stipulated timeline. Away from the Pesata State, Anambra State Governor Professor Chikuma Soludo held an interdenominational service to mark the successful end of his first term in office. Soludo would on Tuesday, March 17th, be sworn in for a second term after winning the re-election in the November 8 governorship election in the state. The service was attended by several clergymen from all denominations across the country, including his predecessor, Dr. Chris Ngige. Speaking at the service, Soludo said his dream has always been for God, who created him, an Anambra man, made him alive and healthy to allow him to serve the state. He added that he will never relent in ensuring that he serves the people by bringing development to all parts of the state, while inviting the people to come with him as he begins his second term. In business, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has announced sweeping new measures for instant payment operations, including a restriction that limits mobile banking applications to a single device per customer. The directive was contained in a circular issued by the Apex Bank's Payment System Policy Department and signed by its director, Musa Jimo, and addressed to banks and other financial sector stakeholders. Under the new policy, Nigerian bank customers will no longer be able to operate the same mobile banking application on multiple devices at the same time. According to the CBN, the policy forms part of additional guidelines aimed at strengthening the operations of instant payment in the country and will take effect from July 1st, 2026. Talking sports, the Super Eagles of Nigeria will now confront Jordan and Iran in Antalya, Turkey, instead of Amman. The two international friendlies was moved from Amman, the capital of Jordan, to Antalya due to the current situation in the Middle East and the limited movement of people. Nigeria will face Iran in their first game on Friday, 27 March. Jordan will do party with Costa Rica on the same day. The Super Eagles will confront Jordan in their second game on Tuesday, 31st March, with Iran facing Costa Rica. Jordan, Iran, and Costa Rica will use the friendlies to prepare for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast, and X at Dominion Cast. And hence the news update on Dominion Television. I'm Uluwayemi Adelakun saying thank you for watching and good morning. Welcome you back. Thank you for staying with us this morning. This is Newspaper Headlines and Analysis. I'm Oluwayemi Adelakwa, and I'm not alone in the studio this morning. I have with me Emmanuel Oladele Abiola, entrepreneur and public affairs analyst. Welcome this morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Right, welcome. So we start with Daily Sun, and I have the banner headline that says NLC least effect of petrol price hike, says living costs unbearable for workers, demands immediate wage award, tax cut, and relief. I think you're also a Nigerian, and of course you're feeling the heat as well. So you're the best person to explain to me, because coming this morning, I'm sure that you must have, experienced quite a number of things. So how serious is this, the hike and the price of fuel for Nigerians?
Yeah, it's a major factor in determining our economic growth, because you see that by the next month, when the Ministry of Finance and all, when they have all the bureau statistics, when they are bringing in the rate of inflation and all, you see that there will be a spike. There will be a spike in the graph of inflation, because petrol, let's say fuel generally, forms basis of industrialization. That is, every aspect of the economy uses fuel. So therefore, it will affect the price of cost of living, it will affect the standard of living, it will affect the ways people go by their daily lives, like you said, transportation and all. So that's part of the cost of living. So yeah, it's a major impact. And looking at it, what NLC is actually proposing, the things they are proposing are right. But however, the government have to actually consider with their economic policies and principles in place, because there might be policies in place that the government you put in place to ensure, or in hopes that a certain result will come into play in the economic situation of the country. But so if these proposals are adopted, it may affect the policies, or if it won't, then the government might actually adopt the proposal. So yeah, it's up to the government. All
right, they mentioned quite a number of things, tax cut, especially wage award. Speaking about minimum wage now, is there a chance that that can go up because of all that Nigerians are facing at this moment?
I don't think so at the moment, though. But now I think the government should start considering something like that. But at the moment, no. Tax cut, you see, government in fact wants to implement tax. So.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's also check this one. This headline, still taking headlines from Daily Sun, African, that says, actually, we are not inciting Nigerians, ADC tells APC. So the APC at some point feels like maybe this opposition party, they are just trying to, fill the heads of Nigerians with, news that are not so true, just so they can incite them to stage a protest and things like that. I'm not sure if you saw this particular video in the East. The City Boys movement, they had something for APC, and then I think it was alleged that some village boys, movement, they also came, and then it didn't end well. They had to carry placards, they destroyed properties, and it didn't end well. So what do you make of this? Do you really think the opposition party, is trying to incite Nigerians against the ruling, party?
Yeah, that's just what it is. Because you see different allegations or different comments that have been made by different stakeholders in ADC. They've been so damning against APC. They're going beyond. Opposition is to strategically criticize and constructively criticize, not just blatantly criticize and condemning so as to incite violence or so as to incite hatred. But that's what it seems like. ADC are fought legally and they are losing the battle, so they are resorting to these means of bringing on allegations and all these citations against APC. So I see them as a dog that's trying to stay afloat, just finding all means to stay afloat. So ADC is just a tattletale and whoever.
But even with all they are doing, some not just the opposition parties, they are not doing anything.
That's what I'm saying. The opposition parties are supposed to constructively criticize and bring out the issues or the lapses of a particular ruling party. But at this time, you see that APC and PDP in the 2006, 08 to 14, 2019, I think that was when it stopped, where there was proper opposition party effect in Nigerian politics. Since then, we've not been seeing their, now it's just they want to win, so they are causing a threat for the other party, they just want to win their vote and all. So, but ADC especially, they're not doing a good job as an opposition party at the moment.
All right, let's from that story, let's cross to the Punch and of course take a look at the story that says suspected bandit nabbed near Akure Airport. And of course, I think Akure is now like another center of attraction, I mean, for this abduction. A friend of mine who stays in Akure, I think he stays around that Champions. I'm sorry, you might not even be familiar, but I'm just trying to explain now. He said people are being kidnapped. And then these are people that cannot even afford 3 square meters a day. And so when they kidnap them, they're asking for huge ransom. And then at the end of the day, they don't even hear about some of them anymore. It's really sad, really.
Yeah, that is totally. And you would see the uptick in these recurrent issues in Nigeria. And it seems like the more we try, the more they fester. Can't root out the causes or the players in this evils being perpetrated. So we are not doing enough facts. I've not seen anyone who has brought me another fact or presented me with a fact or to prove it otherwise. But still, yes, like you said, there's a way that they are bringing, the surge is coming towards the southwest now. Before it was predominantly northeastern, south, middle belt, but now we see that it's coming down southwest, and if we are not prepared, the federal government is not coming for us. Fact to be told, they didn't come for the federal government is not coming for us. Fact to be told, they didn't come for the northerners, so they are not going to come. Imagine us, they are definitely not going to come for us. So we should be the ones to put things in place now, like you said. Okay, I think the call for state police and all, but I'll still say that Amotekun and other guys, these are the state governments now. They are the ones to put things in place for themselves. All
right, I think it's a fun place to leave that discussion. But then this next headline is actually linked to this, and I'm glad that you even mentioned it. Still looking at Punch, it says U.S. probes Nigeria, others in labor rights crowd, and then there's another headline that says the president and his first lady are said to visit UK this Wednesday, and then on Thursday the president will meet with Kestama at Downing Street, and he's going to be questioned on the supposed, genocide, Christian genocide going on in Nigeria. And then I think the lawmakers are even saying, okay, question him. I don't want to use the word greener because some Nigerians are not even comfortable with that word, grieve the president. But then a lot of persons are also saying we are happy for the president. At least he knows what he's to prepare for. Unlike Daniel Bwala, that some persons think he walked into a trap. But then the president can prepare to say, okay, they are going to ask me questions around this. I think it's the best time for the president to speak his truth. And then should we also maybe envisage that at the end of the day, this particular visit will strengthen that bond, between Nigeria and the UK, because in 37 years, this is the first, president that will visit the UK.
Yeah, I don't think there's a bond that needs to be strengthened between us.
Why?
There's always a bond. It stems from our colonial era. I don't see that bond breaking anytime soon because they dominate us. Okay, I will also say something about imperialism. Imperialism, still colonialism. It says that there's the normal colonialism that you all know, but then there is the other side of colonialism that you don't know, you don't see. They are not here, but they are here. They are not. You don't. It doesn't seem like they are still in control.
True form of.
Do you get? But they're actually still in control. So imagine you've not spoken with our leader for maybe other forms of communication, but a proper state visit in 37 years, and we are like a dog still running to them for something. That says a lot. If it's a country, if you don't speak with me for 37 years, you have to build a new bilateral relationship with me. I don't have to come and be begging you for anything. So that says a lot that we are still begging them for their attention. So there's no bond that needs to be strengthened. It's already there. Now talking about the issue of genocide and all, this is the right time for the president to be drilled. I will use the word drill because even US tried to put him on the spot, to put the federal government on the spot, but we've not seen any results. So let's see what the UK government will do. But I don't think the UK government is ready to do so much because there are some benefits they are getting from us that if they start speaking against these things, they might not be getting them anymore. You see, US has nothing to lose with anybody, so US is so confident. You see US saying they are investigating Nigeria for trades and importation of goods that were made by forced labor see, with that other city, a country investigating another country, that's another city. So
don't you think we open the door to all of those things? I mean,
no, we even we don't have the control. We don't have the control on the door. The door, we don't have a say on the door. So US can come in and open and lock
and that's why they were able to bomb Sokoto Christmas
So
Day.
we don't have the control. We don't even have a control over the door. That's the fact.
Okay, so away from that story, good luck to the president and his wife, because I also heard the wife will attend the service and of course preach, and then maybe be asked some questions.
I'm not going to, you said good luck, but I'm not going to say anything.
Really? Okay, we'll come back maybe after the obit. I'm very sure maybe we'll get to read on the things that were discussed later. Let's talk about PDP. A lot of persons at this point are saying PDP is dead, buried. There was a time they were saying it's just dead, but now some are saying they've even buried the party. Because I have this headline that says, Wike bad faction installs PDP ESCOs in Bayelsa, Ekiti, and Oyo. And I also read a particular headline yesterday before I went to bed that says, the governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, might defect to the APC. And so if that should happen, then PDP will be left with just one governor, which is Shey Makinde of your state. And then at a time, Bala Mohammed, his body language said, APC, I will never be there. No matter what they try to. There wasn't a time he had a case with EFCC and they wanted to probe him, and he said, you have no right to probe me, I'm still a serving governor. And then he said, APC is trying to woo him, but he's not going to budge. But this time, it appears that he might eventually defect. What's the fate of PDP with just one governor? Are we even sure that Makinde will not even leave?
Do you get, at this point, Makinde staying in PDP it's going to be a miracle for PDP in Oyo State. However, PDP is dead, but it's not buried. PDP is dead. We all know that because they are losing on all sides. They are losing on all sides, and they even have internal crisis. That's to say a lot about them. However, I still see PDP as they can still have a comeback. Maybe not in 2027 anyway, but in other maybe 2031 they can have a comeback. But PDP as of now is dead. So nothing. I don't see PDP doing any mighty thing. The only place they can win are House of Rep and Senatorial. Even House of Rep, I'm not even going to give them so many seats in the Senatorial district. So let's see what. Don't let me say let's see. We already know what's going to happen. There's so many issues. They're installing new committees and all. They have a month. A month or 2 months to put their things in order. But I don't see them doing that, Sunshine. Okay,
so let's talk about the Wike factor now, because I read some tweets and some Nigerians are saying some of this governor would rather defect to the APC, even if it's not their best choice, but they don't want to bow to Wike. Why? Because only the faction of Wike has been recognized by the court. So because of that, some are saying, a lot of Nigerians are saying, especially for Bala Mohammed, he would rather move to the APC than bow to Wike in his own faction.
And you see Wike.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, you see Wike has over time shown lack of respect, and he's always mesmerizing other people. So he's a bully. And people have their ego too. They won't want to succumb to that. And you see something about the governor that was about to defect is that I think personally, I've always known that he's going to defect. Now, the issue of Wike's faction is affecting the PDP greatly. I think I was speaking with someone yesterday, and we were talking about the whole issue of this PDP, and like we discussed, the PDP. I think someone sat on PDP's issue and said, "We'll actually bring you down."
Wow.
So they said, we are going to, in my mind, we said, we are going to bring you down. And this is what is playing out. And whoever planned that strategy is working out so fine for them.
All right. It's really sad for PDP, for a party that had so much to offer at the time. Good luck to that political party.
How was the mighty falling?
Exactly. And of course, another issue is Oyo State now, especially, talking about the governorship election. Makinde said at the time that people that wants to contest under PDP should start campaigning, put the PDP logo. But you do think that will happen anytime soon? Because the faction of Wike has been recognized, and then
as a battle. But now we see something prolonging. See, and as long as that prolonged beyond a week, I already knew that it's going to take a long time for it to end, because Trump is an egoistic man. And Iran too is a dictatorial system of government, and so each side are definitely not ready to bow. Now, Iran saying it to kill Iran saying he's planning to kill Netanyahu. Yeah, Netanyahu, in collaboration with the US, killed its own supreme leader. So it's just fair enough, I'm saying. It's just fair enough for them to also want to kill
But
him.
an eye for an eye.
Yeah,
Can it really solve anything?
It doesn't solve anything, but that's how wars are fought.
Okay.
I must give you a blow that shows that I'm also here. You can't just come and blow me and I sit. So that means you're saying that other countries who can come and give me a blow and I will take it. So
okay, Emmanuel, let's talk about what I recall what happened during World War I and World War II.
Yeah.
It was majorly about alliances. So at a point when a particular country is dealt with, those who are loyal to that country, they will enter the war, and then it becomes a major problem. Even United States at the time was aloof during the First World War.
Thank you.
Until we got to them,
Yeah.
and then they decided, oh, we are jumping into this war. So killing Netanyahu now, I want to believe that there are some other countries who have been silent on this matter, and that might be the best time for them to just, enter the war.
that's it. So I like I said, I don't see this war ending anytime soon. If Netanyahu is killed, oh, trust me, that's the third world war. Because if you've noticed that Israel has been a very smart country that countries that like it or countries that have bilateral relationships with it are world powers most of the time. So you see UK, you see France, and then you see some other countries in support of, although China, Russia in support of Iran anyway, but you see that US is the forerunner, let me say the front runner of this campaign. However, if anything should happen to Netanyahu, that will unleash the third world war. But the optics, the odds of them killing Netanyahu is actually high. Okay. Because if US is in your side, it's like God really loves you. But then anything might happen. But I don't see this US-Iran war ending anytime soon. At least we have 2 more weeks to see how things play out.
And Nigerians are crying, please have mercy on us, because at the end of the day, a lot of other countries are suffering from this war.
All countries are suffering from this war. You see the IEA, that's International Emergency Administration or something, trying to unleash millions of barrels of oil into the market just to ease the question. To tell you that even an international organization is trying to cushion the effect. So all countries are reaping from this fallout, but that's the effect of war. That's just it. I'm not an apologist, but it is what it is.
All right. I like that you're blunt most of the time. So let's take a look at another headline that says, our national hero lived with disappointment of death. I think this cuts across, every sector. Talk about football now. There was a time that a particular man came out to say that why is it that our heroes, they are not, taken care of, most of them, when they are sick, they don't get enough money to take care of themselves, and then they die and things like that. Do you think this government is not doing enough in terms of, handling people, maybe taking care of people who have served the country with their lives, even soldiers sometimes? A lot of them at old age, they cannot really work, and then they are not getting the necessary help that they need. How can we tackle that? Do you think maybe a body should be established that will take care of this particular area?
Thank you so much. I heard a sport analyst saying something one day that Nigeria use and dumps his heroes. In the sense, you understand what I mean? I do. However, I believe the Nigerian government should take our heroes in every sector, military, sports, economics, finance, or as national workers, as federal government staff.
Okay. So
that at the end they are placed on pension. That your proposal is the right thing. So now, coming to think about our national heroes, in the first place, they are not paid enough. They are not paid well. Now, if you are not paid well and you retire, there's nothing you want to rely on after retirement. But you see other countries, they'll pay their sportsmen thousands of dollars per activities involved in all these Olympics, international engagements. They pay them in thousands of dollars. And at the end of the day, if you're able to amass that amount of money, if you are smart enough, you know how to manage your finances and you are good. So you won't hear these stories about international or other countries having their heroes being maltreated this way. But in Nigeria, you see them, even bonuses being given to them. They have to go to court to get their bonuses. I mean, that's just absurd. So, yeah, our national heroes should be taken care of better. You see, one of them just died yesterday. And that's it.
It's sad.
They said he was in ICU for long hours. There was no intervention from anybody. So that's to say that there's as soon as you're done, you are done at you leave the spotlight. That's it for you. The government does not look back, so they use and dump you. You now see the uprising. Nigerian stars leaving Nigeria and going to other countries to participate for them.
A lot of them, especially women, they are leaving to go and support.
And I support because while you're not while working for you, you're not paying me well. After leaving you, I get no benefit. So why will I strain my life for you? But while I go to other side, do you know something good about international body? Or sorry, other countries is that, especially the first world countries, after their athletes retire from their institutions or whatever, they sometimes re-employ them as advisors, head of this board, something, or if they don't, they support them, they fund their programs, that they are able to start their own programs afresh. So you see all these ex-officials starting foundations, starting sporting activities, clubs of their own, and doing well. You see Owen, you see there's a name, Beckham, all these, the likes of them. They are big men on their David Beckham. Okay. They are big men on their own right now. You see Wayne Rooney, you see the likes of Usain Bolt. They are doing well without starvation.
Frank Lampard.
They are not starving. They are not being maltreated. So
I think it's a lesson to the younger ones now, the likes of Oshime who are still playing. Please plan for your future.
Plan for. Thank you so much. It's a lesson, and it's also we are appealing to the federal government or to any part of the government that they can do better. We are painting a bad image of ourselves to the public, international community.
Honestly, we need to get out of that name, that tag that was given to us. A country of particulars. We do hope that things get better. But before we go, let's cross to Nigerian Tribune. I have to say, like, when I watched the video yesterday, I was really close to tears. It's saying NDLEA arrests 74-year-old man with cocaine at Abuja airport. I'm not sure if you've seen the video. From the question that they were asking the man and his response, you can tell he had no idea. And then so Nigerians are saying, why is it that anyone will put a 74-year-old man in that tight spot? Because at the end of the day, what do you think is going to happen to that man? And then why do you think somebody will do that to his... You are not even supposed to do that to maybe a 20-year-old. Talk of a 74-year-old. The man was just relaxed. And as they were asking questions, he was answering. He couldn't tell. He had no idea. Really, what do you make of that?
Yeah, it's something about crime is that the intent of particular crimes in law, there are intents. So sometimes it's not about, as long as you put actus reus mens rea, it is the act and the intent.
Oh, I like that you bring in. Is that Latin now?
Yeah, that's Latin. So if there are some crimes that act and intent, the act of doing it and the intention of doing it, both of them must be together. But there are some crimes that the act only is sufficient for you to be guilty. So for example now, this drug possession, the possession is act. As long as it is in your possession, even though you don't have the intention of doing it, as long as it is found in your possession, yes, you are culpable of that crime. So that's something happening with the man. You see the man being like, it's just like, okay, normal thing. He's not even grounded pepper. To him, he thought he was taking pepper, but of course someone must have done that, and he might have known, and most likely he did not know. So in this act, even though he's 74 and he was confused or whatever, as long as it was found in his possession, he's culpable. So I'm so sorry. While I sympathize with him, but that's just what the law is. And but funny thing is that the law is a weapon in Nigeria anyway. We know guys that are trafficking and they are not being caught.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it's really sad that happened, and of course I don't
it's
know
very
how
pitiable.
I don't know how his situation will end. Honestly, it's really sad. Okay, so let's talk about this before we say our BYU in the segment this morning. It says opposition parties, lawyers, CSOs reject bid to criminalize the dual party registration. It is a selfish agenda that's coming from the ADC. Amendment is unnecessary, that is coming from the SDP. Autonomy-led government movement threatens legal civil resistance. Others reject amendment bill. It is a good law, should be extended to curb defection. Okore is a move to suppress oppression, that's coming from CSUs. I even think Nigerians are even divided on this whole dual registration. If you are caught, I think there are options. Is it how you pay 10 million naira or you serve jail term for 2 years or both? But some Nigerians are saying, you see that 10 million naira? Let's not even talk about it. Some politicians will close their eyes, open it and send. They will even send 15, say,
Don't worry.
Keep the remaining 5 million. But then, what do you make of this new amendment bill? Is it a good one? Because at the end of the day, till now, we have people who are in one political party on paper, but they're also supporting another political party in practice. What do you make of all of this? These opposition parties are not so comfortable with this whole amendment bill.
Yeah. And like, it's good. It's a good one because, like you said, we've seen like this governor that is trying to defect to APC from PDP. And
Bala.
Yeah. And he's just dilly-dallying, like, hey, what's up, and we already know where he's going actually. Yeah. But on paper, he's still a PDP member. Yeah. But we know what's trying to play. So something like that, it brings confusion to the party, to the citizenry, and a lot of things. So yeah, and it affects the planning. Because if you're thinking that, oh, this party has 200,000 members, but in the next 24 hours, you see an uprising, another figure. So yes, it's a good amendment. However, I want to suggest another amendment to this is that if a candidate that is in seats, either House of Rep, governorship, presidency, anything, as long as you are in seat, you should not be able to defect. The party that you came in with should be the party you leave out with. That, to me, because you look at what is happening all around. Defection, you came into a PDP, but now you are APC. What is it for you on paper? So for me, my own amendment, of course, it might not fly, is that anybody who's on seat stays. Once you are defecting, you are leaving. A new election, a by-election is conducted. So it will actually curb so many things. You will come to realize that it will curb so many things, plagues that are affecting Nigerian politics. Okay,
another issue of concern is the case of Baribe. Something happened last week. He said he wants to defect to the ADC because he was expelled from ABGA. Yeah. But then I read an headline yesterday, and ABGA is saying, no, he didn't expel him. He was only suspended. Yeah. So now, what's the fate of his seat now, in terms of, him being a lawmaker? Because according to the law now, you can only defect to another political party. Maybe the party expelled you, or maybe there's an international, let me say, a national crisis in the party. But now that the 2 windows available might not apply to Baribe, what's the fate of his ticket? He might
actually fly over and escape that, because like I said, sanctioning in Nigeria is a weapon. So whoever chooses to sanction him, that's the case. So if the authority are ready to enforce that, but if they are not, it's all well and good for him. So, but I see him escaping this, and he might just scale through that.
Okay, so good luck to Baribe and of course the other person. All right, so let's take a look at another headline here that we have here, and of course it's still related to some of the things that we've discussed before, and he's also talking about this particular story. He's saying Middle East crisis, NLC demands tax relief cost of living allowance. I think we've spoken about that. I also want us to talk about something that we have not really discussed. He's saying why Senate won't pass 2026 budget tomorrow as proposed. So I think a lot of Nigerians are confused about this budget. Why is it that we delay so much? We say we'll pass today, we'll pass next week, and at the end of the day, they'll still postpone. Don't you think that is one major problem that is affecting the economy of this country in terms of delaying the passing of this budget?
Let me in a way conflict you. Okay, go against you.
No problem.
Okay, no problem. Because I think every appropriation bill must take effect in May of every year. So we still have time. And the essence of the back and forth is to ensure that the right things are put in place. If these back and forth are not in place, it definitely is suspicious. It will definitely become suspicious, because that means things are being checked. But if everything is agreed upon, okay, you want 2 billion, okay, you want 10 billion, okay, then it's bad. But if someone is challenging it, and we see the break, we see the stoppage, we see the back and forth, then that means something important is being done underneath. Although we know that in Nigeria, when something important is done, it's done in favor of some set of people, of course, but at least something is being challenged. So the appropriation bill that is yet to be passed, it's okay. We are in March, so they still have April. So, but it should take effect in May, because that's the fiscal year for Nigeria. So if it's not passed now, okay, all good, but it's better that it's passed now, so that every ministry, every parastatal can put their things in place and start working towards the new Appropriation Act. It must be passed into law before it takes effect. So yeah, for me, I still feel it's okay, but that in Nigeria, things are always not normal. in a way, I think we are known for that. That things are always not done properly. So yeah, although it would have been great if it had been passed now.
Okay.
But it has not been passed. So.
All right. So a big thanks to you, Emmanuel Abiola Ladley, because it's been an interesting conversation, eye-opening conversation this morning. Thank you for being a part of this segment. And of course, to the others, thank you for joining as well. We need to take a short break, and when we come back, we move on to Big Story. I'm Oluwayemi Adela. Please stay with us.
The integrity of any nation's law enforcement system rests not only on its ability to fight crime, but also on the fairness and credibility of its internal processes. In Nigeria, the police remain the most visible symbol of state authority. Yet, questions continue to arise about how officers rise through the ranks. Promotion in the force is expected to reward merit, discipline, and years of dedicated service. However, allegations of favoritism, bribery, and undue influence have often cast a shadow over the system, raising concerns about morale within the force and public confidence in policing. Today on The Big Story, on Daybreak Live on Dominion Television, we examine the transparency of police promotions and the corruption allegations that have trailed the process over the years. Samson Balogun is my name, and thank you for joining us. Now, over the decades, the Nigerian policing system has repeatedly faced accusations that internal administrative procedures are vulnerable to corruption. Among the most persistent claims are allegations that promotions and postings can sometimes be influenced by money, political connections, or patronage networks rather than merit. There have been reports in past suggesting that some officers allegedly pay bribes to secure favorable posting or accelerate promotions, a practice often referred to as job racketeering. While such allegations are difficult to prove in many cases, they have remained part of public discourse and internal complaints within the system. The issue of job racketeering is not entirely new. Historically, there have been claims across different government institutions, including security agencies, that recruitment slots, transfers, and promotions may be manipulated by powerful insiders or intermediaries. However, critics argue that when such practices occur, they undermine professionalism, discourage hardworking officers, and weaken the institutional credibility of law enforcement. For a force that plays a central role in maintaining public order, transparency in promotion is crucial. Officers who believe the system reward merit are more likely to remain motivated and committed to their duties, while the public is more inclined to trust an institution perceived to operate fairly. Authorities have at different times introduced reforms aimed at strengthening accountability within the police structure. However, questions remain about how effective these measures have been and whether the promotion system today reflects the ideals of transparency and meritocracy expected of a modern policing institution. This is why today's conversation matters, and understanding how promotions work, examining the allegations of corruption, and exploring possible reforms are all critical steps towards strengthening both the police institution and public confidence in it. Good morning once again. This is The Big Story on Dominion Television. And joining me on this conversation is a very vocal public affairs analyst, and of course a good governance advocate in person of Ofino, Ignatius Eboselome. Good to have you in the studio once again.
Good morning, Samson Balogun. I'm delighted to be here this morning.
Let's talk about the police system. And the police is not just being guided by the federal government. There are bodies that mitigate a lot of anomalies going on in there. And we'll talk about the Police Service Commission and some other internal bodies, administrative bodies set up by the police itself to make sure that there's a smooth running of the machine called the policing system in the country. But even at that, we have had a lot of issues as regards transparency and recruitment, promotions, and some other things. What could be the major cause of this particular crisis? Is it a systemic failure from the beginning, or it crept in along the line, and are there lasting solutions to all of this?
Thank you very much, Samson. When we are talking about the Nigerian police force, it is constitutionally being established to maintain law and order and to guarantee what is called internal security. So the Nigerian police force is one of the security agency of government. That is one thing in place. And they are non-political. They are non-tribal. The Nigerian police force is assumed to bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It does not belong to any race. It does not belong to any tribe. It does not belong to any religion. It only bears true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But it's rather sad and unfortunate that there has been series of allegation and counter-allegation in respect of what we call corruption and scandal in the Nigerian police force, especially in the area of what we call promotions and postings. Now, there's one thing you must understand. When you are talking about the Nigerian police force, we have the rank and files. Now, those are the level, top hierarchy. Most of them happen to be people that are educated and people that have undergo what we call professional training in other parts of the world. You know, the Nigerian police force have participated in what we call peacekeeping mission in crisis zone of the world, especially in Africa. But it's rather sad and unfortunate that at the top hierarchy, there is a spurious allegation being leveled. And what is that allegation? Corruption scandal. Let me give you an example. Nigerians will not fail to forget the former IGP, Tafa Balogun, Tafa's Gate. During recruitment, it was told that you pay not less than 40,000 naira if you want to enlist into the Nigerian police force. People said it was true. The police hierarchy denied it. At the end of the day, it became true. When there was investigation, the IG was arrested, prosecuted according to the law, and dismissed. He was even handcuffed. The #1 police officer
in the country.
Talking about Tafa's Gate. The rest is history. The same thing applies to the former National Security Advisor to President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, the Dasuki Gate. Sambo Dasuki. In respect to what? The money that was meant to buy what? Arms and ammunition in order to defend our territorial sovereignty. So when we are talking about character reform, that is the first thing that is germane. We need men and women that are honest. We need men and women that are refined in character in the Nigerian police force. But most people that are there in the Nigerian police force, I see some of them as people that are frustrated, looking for a job for years. And at the end of the day, because there was no job, they felt that let me now go and join the Nigerian police force. Okay,
now let's talk about rapid promotion or accelerated promotion, as some would call it. And in history, we have seen it happen to so many people. And in 2025, special promotion of 38 officers, which happened. In August 2025, 38 police officers were given accelerated promotion. The Inspector General defended the action, saying the officers were rewarded for exceptional service and award such as Police Officer of the Year to some people, and then they were given accelerated promotion. And example of that was CSP Shaba Aliyu, promoted to Assistant Commissioner of Police. Also, there was SP Sentome Obi, who was promoted to Chief Superintendent of Police, and this was widely described as a special promotion at the time, or accelerated promotion. And also in late 2025, the IG also did the same. But on a large scale, between 2025 and 2026, from January 2025 to early 2026, the police announced over 74,000 promotions across various ranks nationwide. These included promotions from superintendent to chief superintendent and commissioner to assistant inspector general of police. Although not necessarily, rapid promotions such as large-scale exercises often raise allegations of favoritism or irregular promotional speed. Now let's go back to what it does to the system. Some say it undermines seniority and morale. Some say it encourages corruption and lobbying, leads to political and ethnic favoritism, promote officers without sufficient field experience. Now, I want to bring this to the fore. We had a conversation a few weeks ago about the new IG and how Frank Mba had to retire. And of course, we went back in history how Frank Mba got rapid promotion ahead of Tunji Disu, who was his by enlistment. Disu was actually his senior. But according to promotions, rapid promotions, Frank Mba was, got ahead of him in ranks and had to retire before Disu himself, who is now the Inspector General of Police in the country. Now, all of that put together, we have seen people. Does it naturally mean that that you came into office together? I mean, you got enlisted at the same time. Does it mean that you can actually remain on the same spot while others get promoted? And what are the yardsticks being used, aside from special promotion, as it is claimed by the last IG?
I don't understand. What do they mean by special promotion? You have to blame the Police Service Commission and the Grand Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Office of the Inspector General of the Police. What is the meaning of special promotion? Promotion should be based purely on what? competence, merit, and operational guidelines. What does the law say?
But then, constitutionally, only if it is done through Police Service Commission under the law, the legal framework says that police promotions are governed by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999, the Police Act 2020, the authority of the Police Service Commission. The Constitution gives the Police Service Commission the power to appoint, promote, and discipline police officers except the IG.
Except the IG. Why? Why the exemption? There's one thing you must understand when it comes to the issue of promotion. When you are talking about promotion, it should be based on what? Purely on what? Merit and competence and the operational guidelines. Now, when you look at the Nigerian police force, the quota system has always been the problem. The same thing also applies in the Nigerian army too. The same thing also applies in our admission process in this country. The quota system is a fraud in this country. The quota system. So when you are talking about people who are showing interest in enlisting into the Nigerian police force, there must be people that are patriotic. People who are willing to pay the sacrifice to defend the country. It's a sacrifice. Being a member of the Nigerian police force is a sacrifice. Being a member of the Nigerian armed forces is a national sacrifice as well. But here now, we are seeing a situation of biasness. Based on what? Tribe. Based on religion. Based on region. Based on political connection. Does it speak well? It doesn't speak well of a saner country. There's one thing we must understand. We keep repeating the same mistake often and often.
How then should recruitment be made, if not through...
When you are talking about recruitment, it should be purely based on those who are willing to serve. Men and women that are refined in character. When you conduct a forensic audit of most members of the Nigerian police force, most of them, they are not even patriotic. Most of them are not even willing to serve this country, but they struggle for survival. But we need the Nigerian police force to maintain law and order. We need the Nigerian army too, armed forces, in order to defend our territorial sovereignty. But here we are talking about men and women that are refined in character. Honest men and honest women of good report. Now look at the level of corruption being leveled at the highest authority, at the office of the former Inspector General of Police. That he did not just tender his resignation. They wanted to save his face. Privately, there was what we call misappropriation of public funds. It was there. I'm talking about no other person than IGP Ede Tokun. It's there. That is why I keep saying it over and over again. When you occupy a public position, your life becomes public.
So let's also go back a little bit in history when it comes to pay for job kind of scheme. It's not new, but then it has become a part of the system. And how do we separate these two things? Getting jobs on merit or paying for them through the back door. And the history of pay for job or job racketeering allegations in the Nigerian police force has been a recurring issue for decades. It generally refers to situations where applicants or officers allegedly pay money to secure recruitment, postings, or promotions within the force. Now, early allegations in the 1980s to 1990s, during the military era, recruitment into the police was often criticized for patronage and unofficial payments. Applicants reportedly pay intermediaries to secure recruitment slots, influence postings, speed up documentations, because recruitment systems were largely manual and poorly monitored. The practice became deeply embedded in some commands. Now, it was manual then, largely manual at that time. Now that the system is moving towards the computer age, now most of it is being done online. Should we still have the same issue repeating itself?
You cannot change the skin of a tiger. Those that are in top of affair, in charge of recruitment, they are to blame. The government has the right to sanction them. Why should you recruit police members of the police force based on religion, based on tribe, based on political connection? It's wrong. That is why in Nigeria today we don't have anything called national army. I stand to be corrected. We don't have anything called national police force. We don't have it.
So what do we have?
We just have people that are tribalists in the Nigerian army, in the Nigerian police force, people that they have political connection, and that has been the problem. Those who are actually patriotic, they are willing to defend the territorial sovereignty of the country at all costs.
So what's the solution?
Now look at the Nigerian army. Was there not accusation that we have insurgents among them too? Informants. They are not patriotic. People that are patriotic, they will defend their country. Now look at what is happening presently in the issue of internal security in this country. Police was supposed to be in charge of what? Internal security. But you see the Nigerian police force, Nigerian army now complementing the effort of the Nigerian police force, because the Nigerian police force has failed. Though the number of police officers that we are having, are they enough? We have over 200 million citizens in this country, and the total number of the Nigerian police force on a conservative estimate is less than 400,000. Let's compute it. Are we being fair to ourselves? In the front of the government, the most secured citizen in this country is no other person than His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR. He's the most secure.
He gave the direct order to recruit more police officers in their numbers. He said that recently.
Are they enough? We are talking about 200 million plus.
And he also gave the nod.
And we are having a police force less than 400,000.
He also gave the nod to recruiting, starting state policing.
When you are going to recruit, who pays? It's the government that will pay. It's the president that has that authority to say, I want you to recruit more. The process must be transparent. So we have to be honest to ourselves. Then the issue of the capitalist rich too, and the so-called politicians in this country. They are the ones that are well secured. The ordinary Nigerians are not secured. Let me give you an instance. I was telling some people the other day. They said Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR made a lot of revenue, more than any other government that have existed in Nigeria. I said true. But how many numbers of Nigerians has he lifted out of poverty?
Shouldn't that be a question to also ask state governors?
Not just the state governor alone. The president is the leader of the nation. When they see that the president is going in the right direction, the state governors have no choice than to follow suit. So we have to ask that question again, that Your Excellency, sir, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, how many Nigerians have you lifted out of poverty?
So is it safe to link this back to policing and say, if care is not taken, Nigeria is still going to face the same issue we are having with the federal police when state policing actually starts?
Definitely it will happen. For the state police, it's going to be worse because it's going to be based on what? Political affiliation. And the ethnic group where the governor comes from. Because he will want his ethnic group to be there. Let me give you an instance. The Igbos, sometimes their heart bleed when this man was assassinated. General, this man, Thomas Aguiyi-Ironsi. Who was his orderly then? Lieutenant General T.Y. Danjuma was his orderly. Assuming General Thomas Aguiyi-Ironsi's orderly was an Igbo man, he would not have been assassinated. You are surprised? So that is going to happen in state police too. The governor will be willing to recruit more people from his own ethnic group, from his own tribe. Let me give an example now. If you have state police now in Nigeria, and your state governor is coming from Ibadan, definitely Ibadan people will be more.
Of course,
because the governor will feel that these are his own people, kinsmen. They will not assassinate him.
That is expected. Ibadan has 11 local governments.
No, I'm just giving it.
And in terms of land mass, Ibadan is bigger. So you expect Ibadan to have more in terms of numbers.
If the governor is coming from Okogun, the tendency is there for the governor to also recruit more members from Okogun as a member of the state police.
How do you justify that?
Because he wants his life to be secured. Do you understand? He wants his life to be secured. And there is one thing that is very germane. In a multi-complex society or country, any ethnic group that has the highest number of military men and women, they are the strongest. That is why you see the North very strong. There are more in the Nigerian armed forces. There are more in the Nigerian police force. They are more in custom. They are more in immigration.
And then by estimation, of course, by data derived from the 2006 population census, it says the North are more in number.
I
so
disagree.
It's obviously, you
cannot,
expect that.
You cannot expect the Southern Protectorate to accept that population figure. I disagree.
But that's the result of the census. That's the result we got from the census.
No,
conducted in 2006, and that was the last time.
The North will not agree if the South is saying that we are more than the North.
So what's the lasting solution to all of this?
The lasting solution, but the work stop on the table of Mr. President. If you want transparency in the recruitment process, devoid of what? Tribalism.
Now let's go.
Devoid of what called
just 30 seconds before we go. Now you say the buck stops on the desk of the president.
Yes.
You have not forgotten that all these governors were duly elected too. Their names were on the ballots. And definitely there is little interference the president can have in the affairs of every state. Just very little. So how does the president stop these governors from using their influences, of course, on the state policing, if it eventually starts?
Which of the model does Nigeria want to adopt? I wouldn't know the model we want to. We do want to adopt the American model. Because when we are talking about American model, we have the federal police. We have the state police. Right. So if we want to adopt any model, we should think deeply based on our own peculiarities. So when you are talking about the average Nigerian politician, the average Nigerian politician is desperate for power. He wants to retain power at all costs, not minding whose ox is God. It's only Jonathan that behaved like a perfect gentleman when he said, my ambition is not worth the blood of any Nigerian.
Well, the case of Jonathan and some other political leaders is something we'll have to discuss some other time. But then, it is time to call it a day on this segment of the show this morning. Thank you, Ofino Ignatius, for joining us. It has been a very short but insightful few minutes with you on this segment of the show.
Thank you.
We'll do to bring you back some other time and have a fantastic conversation with you once again. And of course, as the debate continues, one thing remains clear. A transparent and accountable promotion system is essential for building a professional police force. When officers are promoted based on merit, competence, and integrity, it is not only boost morale within the ranks, but also strengthen public trust in law enforcement. Addressing corruption allegations, whether proven or perceived, requires openness, institutional reforms, and consistent oversight. Of course, just like I earlier said, we appreciate Ofino Ignatius for joining us, and of course for sharing this insight on the important national conversation. And thank you too for watching Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. This has been The Big Story. Samson Balogun is my name. Let's go on a quick break, and when we return, we are going to take Trend Watch on this show. We'll be back.
Welcome you back. Thank you for staying with us. That was an intense conversation, of course, with Samson Hanafino. But it's time for Trend Watch, and what we have this morning is saying Nigerian school expels senior student over brutal bullying video. And of course, the incident at Igbinedon Educational Center in Benin City showed senior boys assaulting a junior under a hierarchical D system involving intimidation and taxes on juniors. The school expelled the perpetrators, including some names. Because of time, I might not be able to run through the names now. But then this is the story. Some junior students were treated in a very, sad, manner. It's something that should not have happened at all. And then, of course, we learned that it is both boarding and, of course, day school. But then, looking at the video, at some point, I had to watch again to be sure it's not a movie, because no one should go through that. And then we talk about, bullying in schools today, and so many persons will tell you, it stopped many years ago, it's not really happening. But these things are happening. And I also learned that a particular family, already issued an apology statement based on this. But then, it's something that we really should discuss, because no one should go through that. In the comment section, somebody said that students should learn to defend themselves. And another person said, if you have never been bullied in your life, you won't understand, the concept of bullying, because it's not just about having that mindset to defend yourself. When you do that, will that not lead to more bullying? Over to you, Samson.
Well, I think this is not the first time this case is coming to the fore. I think there was a school in Lagos too recently. I think that's been about 2 or 3 years of the Oromoni. I want to remember his name, who was forced to actually drink a substance which till today has not been substantiated, or we don't even know what he was forced to drink. But eventually, the mother died. The boy also lost his life, and that's plunging the whole family into chaos. And schools have, various laws against bullying. But then I think there should be stronger anti-bullying, strict one in schools to see that. It's only in a case where it is publicized that you get to see what level of bullying is going on in some schools. In some schools, it is way worse than this, but they do not have the ability to get it out there, just like we are seeing. If this was not recorded by anyone, nobody would have actually had
the boys
an
will
idea.
continue to suffer.
It will continue to suffer. Imagine, and this also begs the question: how do you, take care of your children when they come back home? Do you even examine them to see what they are going through? Some children are so lively before they go to school, and then by the time they come back, they are so depressed that even you cannot fathom what exactly the problem is. As a child, your child is depressed, you can't even ask questions about what is going on. Some of these children are even, they are forced to admit that they would never say that to anyone. I mean, they can't even open up to you as a mother. And that brings us to the legitimacy of boarding schools in some part of the country. Is it really necessary for children to be in boarding schools? Because most of the times, this heinous crime is being committed in boarding schools. As a day student, you get the opportunity to report to your class teachers, because you know that after class, you don't have to see anyone, you are going home. And then you come back in the morning in the face of everyone, the teachers are very much around. But the moment there is light out in boarding schools, a lot do happen, especially when in a mixed environment. So I seriously believe a lot should be done. And also there should be parental involvement. Some people take their children to boarding schools and they abandon them there for 3 months. All they do is to just send money. Just send money. It's not really about the money.
About visiting
what
them?
About visiting them to see the state, the state of health, and also how are they feeling in this place? It's a lot, actually. I think this is a topic on its own. We are still going to come back and talk about this. I will bring an expert to discuss this particular topic, because bullying in schools really needs to come to an end. But just one comment before we go. Their parents, according to Stay Richie, says that their parents will go through extreme trauma because I will make them carry their picking from one hospital to another if this happens to my child. You saw that video where the boy was, one of the boys that were sent out of school, that was expelled, was taken home by the parent, and the students were actually shouting on them, saying a lot of things, because they felt relieved that one of them is actually leaving the school. The other one that escaped eventually, because the video was not that clear, eventually, I think we or something was also expelled.
Fish out
the rest, yes.
So if at all they can't get all of them
absolutely.
city.
But
They can
then,
get the
I think
others.
this should be,
Right.
in fact, after rustication, there should be a label that says you are a bully. You can't get into any serious school
Exactly.
in the country.
So it will serve as,
As a deterrent,
to the
others.
others.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
a convenient place, a fine place to leave this on this show this morning. We say thank you for joining us. It's a fresh week, definitely. We also encourage you to stay fresh because we've got a lot for you all through the week, Mondays to Friday. And until tomorrow, when you shall be meeting us on another interesting edition of Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. I say keep being good out there, keep being safe. Same time, same station tomorrow. Samson Balogo is my name.
All right, Amoluayemi Adelako, and before I go, please say no to bullying. Be gracious the best way you can. Bye for now.